22, I got involved with the Russian mafia. Here's how it happened.
Looks like they've been breastfeeding for a year.
Bart, what's your name? Bert?
Oh, my mom's gonna be so upset.
There's not a Mormon I've ever met that I haven't loved. Jesus Christ. We'll talk about this on the podcast.
Okay.
Jay Moore did save your life.
He did.
Yeah. He probably was a lot of the reason he gave me my first break.
Opening for him?
Yeah, it was a
big
fucking deal.
Oh, that was really helpful.
Oh, it was super helpful. I think
Yeah.
I learned probably more. I learned more that I don't know how long I opened for him for, but I learned more in that period of time. Do you ever think, like, when you guys worked with Dane, do you ever look back and go, what you learned in those moments? Because I know it's hard for us. It's really hard when you're opening for one of your friends that's roughly your same age, but they're blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned that I'm not great being in other people's orbits.
In other people's what?
Orbits.
Me either.
Right?
I do not.
I don't like how I feel about myself. I don't like the concessions you have to make to their stardom.
Oh man, there's a lot I didn't like. It's an interesting transition as a man, because I went from someone who was top of the world, or like big fish,
Right.
and then someone's little fish, like
sidekick. Yeah.
Sidekick.
Yeah. I'm not a Batman, but I'm no Robin. I'm somewhere.
That's
somewhere around that, maybe a Commissioner Gordon or a.
That's a great phrase.
Yeah.
I remember. You know what was cool about you is right after you did Last Comic Standing, you were a Batman, and you allowed me to go out and work with you and Jay London.
Oh, that was fun.
You gave me like 3 gigs or something.
Yeah.
It was like $3,000 a gig.
Wow.
I was like, I just had Georgia.
Wow.
And but you didn't make me feel like Robin.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I knew that you were at least as funny as me, if not funnier. And
no,
yeah.
My dad would never say that.
Oh, your dad is a big fan. Yeah, that's so nice.
So congrats on the special, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
You excited?
Yes.
It looks amazing. It's the one special that. No, I haven't.
Oh, they should have sent it.
They didn't send me.
I'm sorry.
No, but I retweeted.
Did you see the trailer?
The trailer's fucking
the trailer
amazing.
came out great. Yeah.
So because I know a lot about you, and one of the things, your stand-up has grown in, like, I've used you as an example on this podcast, but when you did the States, that was such a great, it almost seemed to me like an exercise for you. Like, because you did one bit on late night. Just one bit.
Yeah.
You didn't change.
Right.
You didn't switch it up. You just did one bit.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed like a writing exercise.
Well, it wasn't. But I had done that before, though. I did the prior time I went on Conan, I did a story about being a professor at a college. It was a role play.
Yeah.
Where the woman wanted to have sex, and I wanted to really be a professor and dedicate myself to the role and not be undermined by her wanting to have sex in the role play.
Yeah.
So that was one joke, but it was more popular when I talked about the state abbreviations.
It's interesting because I thought she was voice memoing something. No. It's interesting so you can do whatever you want. Yeah, of course, please. It's interesting because I feel like, especially with this special, your stand-up's gotten very personal, where it wasn't always personal.
No. I mean, I think you could tell a lot about what made me laugh and what I found funny, which is kind of personal. But I didn't really talk about my life, and I didn't have the skill, or I didn't have the will to investigate that and be open about it. The interesting thing about the special to me is that 9 months before I shot it, I wouldn't have told anybody outside my family that I had been in the hospital in the psych ward. I was so embarrassed. It happened for the special sake. I compress it into one event.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how people would take it if I was like, twice in 1 year, basically, I was hospitalized with depression and anxiety, And 2 times Sade reminded me that I was in the emergency room at the behest of my psychiatrist twice in 1 week at one point. And
Really?
one night I had to talk myself out of the observation because I had gigs, and I knew that the key was not to tell them that I had suicidal thoughts, which was really why my psychiatrist told me to go to the emergency room. So I knew to downplay that, but also I had to let them know how I needed to get to the airport by 8 a.m. and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was in the it was kind of like a glassed area where they would watch you and check in on you every once in a while. And
really?
And yeah, that was bizarre. So I was hospitalized twice. For the special, I say it was just one time, and I was
just cram it all into one story.
Yeah, I was in the psych ward, and I told my manager because I had to cancel gigs, and he must have told my agent, and then I told my mom, and a friend who I'd been friends with since 6th grade came to visit me, and then this woman who I became friends with, who's actually a journalist, her and her boyfriend and Sade, my wife, and I, we had Valentine's dinner in the psych ward, which was probably the most romantic. Would you say that was the most romantic Valentine's dinner that we ever had? Also, during art therapy, I made her a Valentine's Day card.
During art therapy?
Yes, it was basically finger painting for old people.
What's the psych ward like?
Ordinary.
Really?
Ordinary, except you're not allowed anything that you could hurt yourself with, and they take your cell phone, and you write with pens that are just the insides of the pen because to give it away that there's a sturdiness so you couldn't attack someone. And then what was the other? And then you have socks with treads on them. That was the other thing, which I think all socks should have treads on them.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think it's very helpful. But the scary part was thinking about what it was going to be like, because all we know is the movies we grew up with.
Yeah, where someone's holding you by the back belt loop, walking you around.
Yes. And then
there's some big Indian next to you playing chess.
who was silent until you offered him gum.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was so ordinary. Oh, and the phone cord, when I called, I hadn't used a payphone in a long time, and the cord to the phone was so short you had to bend
so you
down.
Couldn't strangle
you
yourself?
Couldn't strangle yourself or another patient.
So when did I know that you've dealt with depression?
Yeah.
For probably I know from my own experience that you've dealt with it for about 16 years ago. You told me.
Yeah.
And it was the first I'd ever heard, and I think what's really fascinating about this special and your choice to share this with people is everyone looks at you and goes, why would he be depressed?
Right.
Which has got to be the toughest thing when they're like, he's in great shape, he's beautiful, he's smart, he's got a great smile, great handshake, you're the nicest guy in the fucking world.
Oh, thanks.
And so I think that's where it gets confused. People look at me and they're like, how are you so happy? I mean, you're overweight, you drink all the time, you know?
Yeah. I think that, well, it's an illness, but also it was always hard to complain about things when I had seemingly everything I needed to be happy, but I had this illness. But two people who really opened up my eyes were Jerry West, the basketball star who's the logo of the NBA. He had a book, a memoir, in which he talked about how depressed he was and how unhappy and how he felt like a failure. And then I read Springsteen's autobiography, in which he talks about not being able to get out of bed. And at the time, he was Bruce Springsteen. And I always thought, you work hard, you get great, you feel good about yourself. And if it doesn't work for Springsteen, then something's wrong. And he took antidepressants and recovered and is thriving, and that's been my experience. When my antidepressants work, I do well, but I also know that sometimes the time is limited, so I make hay while
While the sun shines.
While the
That's
sun
my
shines,
favorite. That's my favorite saying ever.
right? I feel good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write everything down and get on stage every night because I don't know when this is gonna run out. So I've had the longest remission and recovery of my life since pretty much October of 2017 until now, which is almost 2 years. I've been on top of the world and
So wait, how does depression work like that? Like if you're on meds, doesn't that just make it go away?
no, because sometimes the meds stop working. Like, you know that author David Foster Wallace?
Yeah.
He had been on something for a long time, felt good, went off it, felt bad, went back on it. It never worked again, and then he hanged himself. So it's tricky, but there are a lot. There are like 18 or 20 other things I do every day to stay on the tightrope that because I felt like the medicine just got me to a level where I was above water and could breathe and could do things like exercise and eat right and do shows but I don't know what your experience on the road was, but it was tough when I was initially recovering because the isolation can be bad with the hotel. And so I started accepting invitations of audience members to meet for breakfast and lunch.
Really?
Yeah, I remember in Bloomington, Indiana, I went out with this guy who invited me and his wife, and he invited me out to lunch the next day, and I kept the appointment, and it was helpful because otherwise I'm just in my hotel room up until the show starts and I'm writing and everything. But I realize that when I get to the show, the audience is the first person I talk to.
That is a insane truth to our business.
Yeah.
Is sometimes the only one you're talking to are the people sitting in the dark.
Yes. And it's so sad.
And if imagine the what a gamble it is you need them to laugh, and if you don't get them to laugh,
exactly. I mean, haven't worked with you in years, but I just know that you always killed. But did you ever find your mood the next morning tied to how you did the night before?
100% married to it.
Right. Dangerous.
Like really, and I don't think anyone really understands how dangerous that is. If I have a bad set, I can be in a house, have a car, have money in the bank.
Yes.
But if I had a bad set,
yes,
I can't believe this is the beginning of the end. I knew they were going to find out that I sucked.
Yes. Oh my gosh. See, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, well, Bert never feels that. He has a great time every time.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. I'm not wise enough to know if I have depression.
Okay.
Like, I'm not insightful enough. Someone said to me the other day, you don't live a very examined life. And I was like, yeah, I kind of try to I have really bad. I've always dealt with things. Why
would they say that to you? I always found that you brought a lot of wisdom and insight into life. Maybe not your life, but life.
Yeah. Into life, yeah. But I deal with anxiety, and I kind of
I knew about that.
Skate past things,
right?
Like almost imagine if you're in the Temple of Doom, and you're like. And you're like, all right, I'm just gonna get the fuck out of here. I'm just walking. There's cobwebs. I'm afraid of spiders, but that's not a big deal. Just wipe them off. I do that sometimes with life, and I think that's primarily what when I drink on the road, I know it's to cover some sort of thing.
Okay.
I up until recently realized that there is a direct connection with I never staying in bed all day.
Yeah.
I didn't. And I have anxiety, and I realized very recently, I think this is what depression is.
Yes.
And I was like, I just can't get out of bed, and I'm like, not only can it had it today. I had it today, but see, mine connects less with depression and more with anxiety.
Uh-huh.
So I got up and I was cuddling in bed with the dog, and I was in love with the dog, and I was like,
so
okay.
helpful with anxiety, dogs.
Oh
my word.
And so then I got up and I swam in the pool.
Yeah.
And I came out and I said, all right, Leanne, I'm gonna I'm got anxiety or something's going on. She's like, why don't you go to hot spin class? Exercise always helps. And I'm like, but I'm in this place where I'm like, no, because now my brain's going, sometimes my brain will say, staying in bed might save your life.
No.
Like, it's like, don't get out there. There's
Yeah.
bad stuff out there. People get hit by
Right.
cars.
Yeah.
You're going to go to Hot Spin and have a stroke. So I went to Hot Spin. Annie texted me and said, hey, I'm going to Hot Spin. You should come.
Yes.
I guess Leanne texted her.
Yes.
And then I went, and my day turned around after
Absolutely.
Hot Spin class.
Yeah, that's the other component is the exercise. But you call it the Temple of Doom, and I call it madness in my periphery at all times. Like if I look to either side of the road, I see madness and everything that could tear down my day and eventually my world. So I keep my head focused on right, exercise, walk my dogs, get a meal, and not look at the things that could derail me, like the idea that I'm never going to write another good joke again, which happened to me a few years ago and set me on course for my worst episode of depression. Which,
For real.
Yeah, which is what the I'm not trying to plug, but just
No.
what
Your
what the
special is the only
what the
organic.
special deals with.
It's the only organic conversation you can have. Like most specials, it's just like, but this, and it's such a diversion from you for what you normally did was observational,
Right.
Real smart, high end joke writing to go to where you. I find it more fascinating because so many people are more open about depression.
Yeah.
I remember one time
Comedians are great at being open about depression, I will say.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's amazing how many people have it.
Yes.
Like Neil Brennan has talked about it.
Yeah. I had no idea. He
he
said
does.
everybody just thinks he's a jerk. Yeah.
He did ketamine therapy.
I did that.
Did you really?
Yeah. Sade was there for it. She videoed.
For real? Wait, tell me about it.
So she found it online, this doctor in New York City, because you needed a license to do it. And it's not, at the time it wasn't covered by any insurance. It was a few years ago. And you go there and you sit in, it was very similar to, I had a friend who had chemo, in that you just sit there and they put an IV in you. Only in this case, it was ketamine. And Sade will tell you, I was like catatonic, like Silas Marner on the couch all day long. I didn't watch TV. I couldn't read because of the anxiety. And I would just sit there and hopefully fall asleep at some point. But my days were very limited other than walking my dogs.
Yeah.
And then she read about ketamine. She found a doctor in New York. We went there. He was very reasonably priced in that he gave a sliding scale. So he said anywhere from $100 to $800, and I said I can afford $400, and so I gave him $400 for an hour. I had the IV, and it was Xanadu, man. It was. We put on Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour, and when I tell you I hadn't enjoyed anything for over a year and a half at that point, I hadn't really smiled or laughed. I was in heaven for the hour that I was outside of my depression. I didn't hallucinate. We have video of it, and I'm telling Sade that I feel like myself, and if I could feel like this after we leave, then I'll have my life back. But the thing was, it would dissipate pretty quickly after I left, and it was such a bummer. And I would go back because he said maybe it'll take 3 or 4 trips. But then after the 4th one, and I talk about this in the special, after the 4th one, he was like, I can't take your money anymore. And I was like, but I have more. I have more money.
I have more money, please.
Yes, please take it. It's worth just the hour outside of this misery. And he said, it's not working. You're supposed to leave and feel well again. And it was so disappointing. But in studies, it works 60% of the time. And also they use it in emergency rooms for people who are about to commit suicide or want to commit suicide.
Really?
Yeah, they give it to them and it turns them around. It's very effective, just not with me.
My buddy killed himself, and I had to wrap.
Anybody I knew?
Croy.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about what we opened this conversation with. That was a handsome, charming,
Gorgeous.
nice,
Sweetest guy.
funny. Oh, I'm
Sweetest
so
guy.
sorry to hear
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bert.
Oh, it broke
That's
my heart.
tragic.
It's still,
Of course.
I still get worked up about it.
Did you even know that he was depressed?
No, I didn't. I had no clue. I don't think he knew.
Yeah.
Not to broad stroke Florida, but
Yeah.
like we weren't raised with that skill set growing up that there's depression, there's anxiety.
Neither was I.
You said you have
Yeah.
the greatest line in the teaser. All we had was toughen up, or what was it? What's the line?
Well, there was what if you got to be depressed about
Yeah.
and snap out of it?
Snap out of it.
Right.
And so I think
But there was also suck it up,
suck it up,
which
man.
was like a sports thing.
Oh, and
Yeah.
I think he was dealing with depression and didn't know. His brothers had literal run-ins with substance abuse his whole life. And so I think it's been
Yeah, a lot of people self-medicate.
I think I'm sure Croy did, and I'm sure I did, but I had to I tried to figure out why someone would kill themselves. I needed a solution. I was really frustrated by it. I needed to know what is the positive of it. The only thing I ever came up with was, and this sounds silly, but for someone with anxiety and who worries about death, I said, you know what, if I just tell myself I'm going to kill myself in 10 years, then I know that's how I'm going to die. I don't have to
Right.
worry about anything anymore.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's all I could come up with.
Yeah.
But yeah, suicide's never, I've never thought about it. Everyone's thought, like today I thought people's got to have to fuck their dogs. Like there's got to be someone out fucking dogs. I was
Right.
cuddling with this dog so hard. I was like, oh my God, like this dog's so much fun to cuddle with. I know there's someone that's taking that too far.
Oh my word! Yeah,
Just has to be.
anything you can
Anything
conceive
you
of,
can
people have,
conceive of,
yeah,
people have done.
People have
a hobby of.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, but I've never, and like suicide's it's got a weird rap in this house because the girls were there when I found out about Croy.
Oh.
They were there and they saw me break down crying, and they were like, they were young, and they were like,
Who told you?
my dad.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we were in Alabama, and Leanne.
Your dad, who I don't know that I've met. Have I met?
Yeah, you've met him.
I met.
He
Okay.
loves you.
Okay, but one thing I know about your dad is that you called him at one point when you first started doing comedy, and he said, "I didn't do right by you. You need to humble yourself."
Yeah.
And you got a job sweeping up at the Boston Comedy Club.
Yeah.
At your father's advice, and that was some tough love.
Ooh.
that I was really impressed with his level of integrity and his ethics, which goes a long way as to what kind of husband you've become and what kind of father you are, and I really admire your father and have a lot of respect for him because he did the right thing, because it would have been easy for him to bail you out, not bail you out literally, but just
keep paying for me.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
that was his. That was the greatest. You don't those pivoting
So valuable. Yes.
so valuable.
Point. Yeah.
And I didn't know it was coming that day. It was my 26th birthday, and
Yeah.
I just thought he was calling to say happy birthday.
Yeah.
And he fucking gave
And that's
it
a
to me.
critical moment in a comedian's career. 26 years old.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would not be where I am today had it not been
Right.
for that one phone call.
Yeah.
I probably would have gotten addicted to drugs. I think of things like that. Like had I started in LA, I would
Yeah.
have gotten addicted to drugs.
Wow.
Like I definitely would have just been like, I would have gone to the store and I would have done coke with all the guys that did coke.
Ugh.
Because
Really?
I just would have done it. I wouldn't have.
But weren't you aware of the?
We had a very interesting group because it was me. I mean, I'm speaking collectively, but the group of Barry Katz comedians
Yeah.
that all started in New York and kind of hung out in New York and then all moved out to LA together.
Uh-huh.
And I think we were more career focused than anything. Their women weren't number one on our priority.
Right.
It was career. Do you remember we would go to I can't
Can I tell you what I think our focus was?
featuring.
We wanted to get as much stage time as possible because we knew that would allow us to become the comedians we wanted to become. And at that time, the only way you could get on stage was to be the star of a sitcom.
Yeah.
And other than that, either you were famous a long time ago or you were the star of a sitcom now. Otherwise, you weren't getting a lot of road work.
Yeah.
And you weren't getting on stage with the clubs out here. And so that became our focus. If you could have told me any other way to get on stage every night, anytime I wanted to, I would have done that too. That was our focus. Yes, we were backstage at the Comedy Store.
I think of this so often.
We were lucky to be there.
It was a murderer's hall. I mean, it was like Chris Rock, Andrew Dice Clay, Roseanne Barr, Louis Anderson.
Yes.
And we were sitting back there, and Chris Rock was like, and we were like, we had been at the Coffee Bean earlier in the day, and we were saying, how do we get to feature?
Yes,
I just would like to feature.
Yes,
how do we get feature work? We got to be good enough to feature.
Yes,
and we said to Chris Rock, how do we get extra? How do you get feature work? And he goes, feature work.
Yeah,
feature work.
And he told us we mentioned a comedian that we were not admiring but envious of because he was getting a lot of work.
Yeah,
and Chris Rock and Chris Rock has said 100 things around me and to me since then, and none of them have been reasonable. He talks so much nonsense. Like he just is every time I come home from having spent a night working with Chris Rock at the Comedy Cellar, I come home to Sade and I tell her the nonsense that he spouted and we laugh. But the only reasonable thing that he said was that time when he said, if you want to be like that guy, that's who you're going to wind up being. And we were horrified by that. and I think it woke us up. It was really good advice.
It was great advice.
Yeah, that you had to set your sights a little bit higher.
You want to be like that guy, then you're going to be that guy.
Yeah.
I remember he was right. He goes, don't focus on featuring, focus on headlining.
Yes.
And we couldn't wrap our heads around it at the time because we were like, focus on headlining. We're not getting stage time.
Yes, we can't
How the fuck do we get that headlining?
There was a year I got on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno twice, The Laugh Factory 0 times. I used to say the only time my name will be on The Laugh Factory is when I die and they say, make God laugh.
Make God laugh.
Yes.
Call back tomorrow next week for your veils.
Yes.
Oh,
it was so humbling.
I think about that guy who quit comedy, Rick.
Oh my gosh, Rick Harris.
I think about him.
He was a brilliant comic.
He was a brilliant comic.
Yeah.
And I think he had a drinking problem.
Yeah, he did.
Because he slapped an agent.
Yeah.
And got banned from the Improv.
Yeah. And he was there all the time. That was his hangout. He was a regular there. But yeah, he either slapped an agent or an executive producer of a hit show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just moved. That's so funny, the things that you remember. I remember in my memory, he moved back to Virginia and started teaching.
Jersey?
Yeah,
he was a Jersey guy.
I wonder what he's doing now.
I think he's teaching English at a high school.
Really?
And he must be the best English teacher because he was so smart and well-read and funny and a good guy. And I know he's sober. I think that was it. Yeah, that was the key. But I always think like he... And I don't have any idea because I've tried to reach out to him, and I think he had to put his comedy life away so that he wouldn't dwell on it, and which makes sense because that's
right. I could never. I remember we were sitting at that. The three of us were right around the time Last Comic Standing was starting.
Yes.
And you said the funniest thing. I'm telling this to Halston because it was made me laugh so hard. Gary just goes, I think comedy is too much for me. I think I feel like I made a mistake. I'm going to go back and I want to be a high school guidance counselor.
Yes.
And I said, really? And you said, yeah. I said, why? You said, so I can look at those kids and go, never be a comedian. That's how ingrained comedy was in your heart, that even in your ulterior life, you were going to make sure people didn't get their heart broken.
Oh my gosh. Well, that was like 2003 probably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. cut to 2000.
Georgia was Leanne was pregnant.
And 17 when I took a job because I didn't think I could. I mean, my anxiety and my depression was so severe that I couldn't get on stage. I was shaking and I couldn't remember my jokes and I was so sick. And Sade and I discussed it and we said, well, you could be a teacher. I could be a teacher. That was the last job that I enjoyed, as a substitute teacher at my high school. And I took a job because I was going to transition. And I actually went through this. I took a job as a counselor at a summer camp for adolescents and high school kids on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And it was a great job. It was great because I had to get up every day at 7 a.m. to go there and be a camp counselor with these kids. And I did it for 6 weeks. And then I thought, I think teaching is much more stressful than comedy. And I didn't know what I was going to do because I couldn't do comedy, but eventually the medicine worked and the treatments that are I want you to see the special because one of the treatments is quite unusual, more unusual than ketamine. And I want to know your reaction to
More
it
unusual than the lamp you used to travel with?
Oh yeah.
I remember that.
Remember that lamp?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They were
I remember coming into
convinced
your room and you were
that
sitting with your
that
face
light
in the lamp.
that
You were like,
light
"Give me 1
spectrum.
second."
Yeah, that light spectrum helped moods, helped seasonal affective disorder, but the jury is out on that.
Yeah. Well, I want to. I'm dying to see the special. It's
Yeah.
not out yet, right?
No, October 5th. But we
October
can get
5th.
you a link.
I would love to watch
I'm
the special.
disappointed that they didn't get you one because
No.
they should have.
October 5th. We'll make sure
Yeah.
we'll release that.
Yeah.
And it's HBO.
Yeah.
Judd Apatow directed it.
No, Mike
just produced it?
Bonfiglio directed it. He did the Avett Brothers
Oh yeah.
on HBO, and he did Doc and Daryl. Remember that 30 for 30?
Yeah.
He did that one, and then Jerry Before Seinfeld.
Oh really?
Yeah, the Netflix special that's part documentary and part Jerry doing a set at the comic strip. How quickly must that have sold out?
Gura, someone goes, I shouldn't say this. Never mind. We were doing, I'm just fucking, I don't give a fuck. We were doing some hot ones challenge and we're,
Hot lens?
hot ones, where you eat the hot wings and you answer the questions.
Oh my word.
So we did it independently and then we did one together and they were trying to get us to trash other comics and we
That's a show, right?
we definitely
that would be a
did.
show, trashing other comics.
And so
Why isn't that?
that was what podcasting was when we started.
Really?
Oh my God. That's all it was. You would go to Rogan's house, get high, and then it would spin out into just it was gossip. We didn't know anyone was listening.
Right.
We would just sit and gossip and Rogan's always been he's the one thing he does better than anyone is listen.
Mhm.
Like I just like talking. So for a guy like me, I would just fucking you name it, I'll fucking, and that's all we did. We just all get together. We go to the ice house, get in a big circle, and we just go through comics that
Oh my
acts we didn't like.
gosh. I'm surprised that didn't become a podcast. Trashing.
It did. It's called the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, really?
Well, that was where the impetus is that Joe paid for all of it.
Yeah.
It was Death Squad. It's called the Ice House Chronicles.
Okay.
And then Joe's podcast was done out of there. And yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason Jay and I don't talk is because I was very open and honest about what happened with me and him.
Oh,
and
okay.
I did it on Joe's podcast. And
Oh.
it was, in retrospect, in retrospect, I have no regrets about life. I can't go back and
Right.
go,
Right.
because I'm very happy where I am today. I'm very glad that I went through that moment with
Yeah,
Jay, and
right.
it stinks that, we're not friends. We don't speak,
Yeah.
but adversely, I had to go into therapy right after that because I was a fucking wreck because I felt like I wasn't
Are you still in
company
therapy?
loyal. Yeah,
Oh,
no, I
that's-
haven't gone in a while.
No?
I started lying in therapy.
So helpful. Oh, really? You started lying?
Yeah, because I was doing therapy on Skype, and I was
Okay.
afraid someone was going to get my Skype, so I didn't want them to know and so it was super ineffective.
That's so interesting.
Like I wouldn't
You
share.
ever talk about that on stage? It's hilarious.
No, I haven't talked about it.
But
on
you're not
stage.
the only person who lies to their therapist.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I've heard that a lot.
yeah. My
I mean, it makes the therapy session completely useless, but
I
it happens
I
because they become a parent, right?
yeah. Cut right here for a second, Halston. All right, and we're out. We're out. But yeah, so I kind of therapy for me is a little bit of a, I don't know. And there was like so much shit. There was a lot of shit that I wasn't telling him.
Yeah.
It's like Bill Burr one time I was going to the doctors and I told Bill I'm at the store and he goes, hey, you want to go get a drink? This was a little while ago. And I was like, oh no, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I have a doctor's appointment. I want to make sure that I'm healthy for it. And he goes, that's not how it works.
Right.
dickhead."
Yeah.
He goes, you don't get ready for your doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
You go in at your worst and let them see you at your worst. And I went, oh, and I think I was doing that with therapy.
Yeah.
Like almost going like
Oh, that's
not
interesting.
showing my worst because I was afraid people would steal the Skype.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think that was, like we'd go do Sober October and it would be really intense. And I hadn't been drinking all month, and I've been working out, and I'm in this intense competition with my 3 friends,
Right.
and I would literally just bite my lip. And he's like, "How's everything going?" I'm like, "It's going great.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking
Yeah.
dealing with
You
a
just
lot of
wish,
emotion."
You just wish February rhymed with sober.
Yeah,
31 days.
yeah. It
That's
starts
a
up
long
next week.
time. Oy.
You don't drink, really, do you?
No, because it counteracts or interacts with my medication, and it's they say it's like having 3 drinks for every drink you have. So
Oh, get me on your
not-
medication. Jesus.
yeah, it intensifies the experience, and then I pay for it the next day. I mean, that's the whole
The next
thing
day,
with drinking is that there was a time when it was enjoyable, and all of a sudden the payment the next morning was not worth it anymore.
what about pot?
pot? I had a good run, and not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
what? How old were you when you first noticed depression?
7.
What?
Yeah. I remember being like suicidal at 7.
Was there something that happened at 7? That
Yeah, my father, in an attempt to give me advantages, had me repeat the first grade. But I was a good student. I was in the top reading group, the top math group. But my father got in his head. What he should have done was maybe had me start school late if he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But even that, I was so much more mature than the other kids in my grade.
Yeah.
And then I just became, as I got older, I was like everybody in my classes, their older brother or their father. It was just I didn't fit in the way a lot of kids fit in with their class.
Really?
Yeah, and it was very, and I also happened to have a teacher who was very sarcastic and very verbally abusive, and you get the wrong teacher, and going to school you're being bullied by this teacher, and the second time around, first grade, I was miserable.
Really?
I was miserable. I still to this day have nightmares over that experience. I started going to the nurse every day because I didn't want to face then the teacher and so that was the first time where I would think to myself, I would love to die. That would be great.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny when I was
And also the after school specials were very depressing.
what were the
Remember those shows?
Oh yeah, I do.
The ABC after school special, it was always like so sweet, but at the same time, somebody was getting bullied, and then their neighbor would learn how to use sign language to help this kid. Or they would go to chemo treatment with the kid, and somebody would
God.
become a hero, but somebody always would be a just a tragic case in those shows.
I remember a marijuana after school special where the guy was his younger brother was a great swimmer.
Uh-huh.
And so his younger brother was like, "Hey, can you go out in the river with me and follow me in the canoe?" And he was like, "Yeah, let me get dubed up first."
Oh,
And so he gets
gosh.
high, and then they're paddling. He's paddling the canoe, and he's just high, and he hears a thunk, and he hit his younger brother on the head while he was swimming, and his younger brother died.
Oh,
Not uplifting.
oh no, the guilt.
Yeah, guy was in jean shorts, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you don't give up marijuana, but you're not enjoying marijuana the same way after. After that, that. Wow.
Wait, could you
really had nothing to do with the marijuana? It's just terrible luck.
It's just it's a horrible circumstance.
Yes.
I mean, you can't blame yourself for your brother's death, but at the same time,
Sade, what was that movie we watched? Hereditary. Did you see Hereditary?
No, it's
yeah, it's terrific. But this kid gets lit up at a party, and while he's driving home, I hate to be a spoiler, but he gets his sister killed because he got lit up at a party. Yeah,
I remember distinctly.
Great horror movie, Hereditary. You would if you like
Hereditary.
Yeah, Toni Collette.
Oh, I like Toni Collette.
Gabriel Byrne.
I love Gabriel Byrne.
He's amazing. Yeah, this is a solid horror movie.
I remember when they did Project Greenlight. They came running in and they were like, "We've got Gabriel Byrne," and I was like, "Not the name I think that was going to drop the mic." Everyone thought he's a great actor.
Yeah, terrific.
But like, it's not like we got Gabriel Byrne attached.
Was that the first Project Greenlight?
I think it was first Project Greenlight.
Aidan Quinn.
Oh no, I'm sorry, it was Aidan Quinn.
Yes.
It wasn't Gabriel Byrne.
Gabriel Byrne would have moved the meter, but Aidan Quinn, he just wasn't as big as Gabriel Byrne because he wasn't in Usual Suspects.
That's right. It was Aidan Quinn.
Yeah.
It was fucking Aidan Quinn.
They
I remember that. Them coming in going, "We got Aidan Quinn," and I was like, "Nah."
Yeah, it's not going to move the movie, but I remember from my acting class, I did a spoof of Project Greenlight called Project.
Project.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun with that, mocking that show.
Do you remember when? Hold on. Do you remember when we decided we could make a comedian famous?
No.
Yeah, we were all sitting there. And we said, "What if we just got a great-looking kid and wrote all his act?"
Oh yes.
And we were like, "Yeah." I think we thought we could call it Project Red Light.
Yeah, that was a good idea. And then there was another idea that I always fantasize about and it became the movie Yesterday, where everybody forgot all the jokes in the world, but because I was so obsessed with everyone's jokes, I went out and I had my Carlin phase and then my Stephen Wright phase.
Oh, is that the kid who starts singing all the Beatles songs?
Yes, but nobody knows who the Beatles were. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then I had this other one called, this was before The Office. It was called I remember I sent it to you and you liked it. It was called The Complex Clown. And it was the guy who was the funniest guy in the apartment complex. But his jokes were all similar to, they'd be on the elevator and he would say, "Looks like we got the local." And everybody thought that was so funny. He was always
the complex.
Because the people at the complex thought he was funny, but it turned out that he was only funny there.
So when you're 7 and you feel depression, and then it just chases you your whole life.
Oh yeah, I would have episodes from time to time, and a lot of it was based on how I was doing in sports. So if I was having really good games at basketball and getting my 20 points a game, I felt great. Then I'd have a lousy game or a lousy string of games, we'd lose, and I would be inconsolable and felt, because my entire world was whether I was going to be a basketball star. That was going to save me. If I could be a great basketball player, then I'd feel good about myself.
I get in my head.
Did you have that relationship with baseball? That it was your identity?
Yeah, but I would succumb to the yips.
Oh, I am fascinated by the yips.
It's fucking fascinating.
Steve Sachs.
Yeah,
and Chuck Knobloch.
My senior year, I struggled with, I had to catch. If I played third base, I could not throw it to first base. I would just fucking, the second a ball hit to me, I'm immediately in my head. I was playing golf with my dad at Pebble Beach, and I definitely with sports, if I don't think about it, I'm great. But the second I get in my head,
it's the same with comedy.
I started saying to myself, comedy, I've been able to dodge that bullet.
Okay.
Um,
But what I'm saying is it's the confidence, and if you ever lose the confidence, you're finished.
yeah, I guess I don't know. I think once I take my shirt off, it's all fucking
Yeah,
downhill.
but even before that, I remember you. One thing that I was blown away by, and this is probably from 1999, you found out that Jay-Z never writes down his raps, and you decided that you would never write down your jokes, which I am amazed at. And the other thing was that you said that you knew you could rock a mic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going online looking for times where Jay-Z said, at least I wrote notes, like, and because I would lose jokes so quickly by not writing anything down. I would lose so much material. I remember one time Segura said to me, I feel like you've forgotten more jokes than I wrote this month.
Wow.
And I went, what do you mean? He goes, I've seen you tell jokes once and then never tell them again.
Right.
Because I really think it would benefit you to write some of these down.
We used to watch Attell. You watched Attell, right? All the time. And you would be, the thing that would always amaze me is he would tell a joke. It would be the funniest thing I'd ever heard. He'd never do it again. Do you think he forgot it or it wasn't good enough for him?
You know what? Attell, the one thing my one pull away from Attell that I do in my act now, that I do in my work, is I think for him a lot of it was like tastings. Like he'd do a tasting on stage, and then he would then take one of his premises or one of his punchlines and pair it with another joke. And so what I do is I do that. I remember he had a joke about chasing someone with a hammer that I saw 19 different iterations of.
Wow.
And I never knew where that landed for him.
Yeah.
But like I think he was so quick.
Yes.
I think I'm sure that he thinks there are things that aren't worth going in the act.
Right.
Like, yeah, you like that? Yeah, that's old.
Yeah.
Like where I'm like, I would have, if he told me one time one joke he liked of mine, I told it every night on stage until I shot a special.
Of course.
I was like, it's the second he said he liked a joke, I'm like, I hang my hat on it.
Yeah, of course. If it makes him laugh.
God.
Yeah.
What did you when did you start getting medicated for depression?
My freshman year of college, right before I went home for Christmas break, I was on the football team, and
At BU or
at
BC?
BC, yeah. And
I remember we got in the elevator with these guys one time. I was with Jay Moore. We were in Boston, and the Boston College football team was staying in our hotel, and they got in the elevator and they were massive, and they walked out, and Jay was like, Gary played on that team, and I was like, what? He was like, yeah, Gary played football for Boston College, and I went, shut up.
Yeah. So I went to they had this guy who was the academic advisor, and he seemed to be the only person who would understand how I was feeling, because he seemed warm and understanding. And I went to him and I told him how I was feeling, that I couldn't get out of bed and I wanted to kill myself. And he sent me to this therapist. And then about halfway through my freshman year, I met with this other guy who's prescribed medicine, and he suggested I try this. And within 3 weeks, almost to the day, I said, "Oh, this is me. This is what I feel like."
Yeah.
And it worked for the most part. It got me through college, and then after college, and I started doing comedy, I had these odd jobs that didn't pay enough to get myself insurance, so I didn't have enough money to get medication, so I went off it, and then I had another episode. But I had a good run for a while there, and especially when I lived in LA, I was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem to have been doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I remember you were one of the first people I ever knew that were into like comic book stuff.
Oh yeah.
I was so shocked.
Yeah.
Dude, some of the things I've said to people,
I was obsessed.
I look back and I go, what fucking kind of animal was I? Like, I didn't know, I'd never really met an Indian person. And do you remember David J?
Yes, of course. We're still very close. Yeah.
I've been waiting for that sneeze all day.
He cast you in his first TV series.
Life with David J.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big showrunner now.
Huge.
He's massive.
He's huge.
I remember he
It's
said
not surprising because he was such a hard worker and so smart.
he was from Boston, wasn't he?
Yes.
Did you know him in Boston?
No, he had already moved to New York before I started doing comedy.
He's an interesting guy. He did that sitcom, I think, just so that he could get writing jobs.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think he had any interest in stand up, doing the road, in acting. I think he wanted to be a showrunner.
That's so interesting. I never thought that. I know that he preferred the lifestyle of a writer over the lifestyle of a stand-up. Oh, I could
Stand
never.
up is so fucking. I would love to have an Audi and drive into the lot.
No, thanks.
Really?
No, I love the. If I could live the way I am right now with no changes,
Yeah.
I would be satisfied.
I said that to Jim Jeffries the other day, or no, I think it was Jim Jeffries. I said, Sebastian. I said, if you can give me 5 more years like this,
Yeah.
I'll be good. You won't hear a word out of me.
Yeah.
Just give me 5 more years just like this
Yeah.
one, and then I'll shut the fuck up. And Sebastian's like, not me. I'm doing this until I die. And I was like, I think I'll do stand up until I die.
Yeah.
But like, I don't need to tour the way I'm touring
Right.
forever. I would love to do like Ray Romano shit where he's just.
Yeah.
I would love. What's your goal in this business? Do you still have like aspirations to do multicam or?
No, I mean
Yeah.
it would be fun, and I enjoy those types of things, and there are stories I want to tell, but it's always in service of building my audience so that I can do more shows and get on stage more. My goal is to be able to walk into the Comedy Cellar and say, listen, can I do 15 minutes and I'm not on the show?
Yeah.
That's what I would love, because I always felt like the only thing that was holding me back as a stand-up was I couldn't get enough stage time.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to have to be on the road to get all the stage time, but I think I'll always want to do at least a couple hundred shows, and right now I want to do 400 or 500 sets a year.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'm moving out to New York in December.
Really?
Yeah, to just get an apartment or just get an Airbnb and just do spots.
Oh, we'll have so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun.
That'll be great.
Yeah, because I have to have a new hour for this new tour that starts in January. I have to have a new hour. I can still borrow some of the older stuff, but I have to have new material.
Great.
And so I was like, I said to Ari, I was like, I feel like I'll just move to New York. He's like, do it. He's like, you can do like 6 spots a night.
Yeah. I mean, that's stressful to do 6 spots a night. You got to run around. But on a Friday, Saturday, if you're at the Cellar, you can get 6 spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
they have 3 rooms.
I used to be.
They have 3 rooms. So
they've got
Robert
the
Kelly. Yeah, Robert Kelly will do 6 or 7 spots on a Friday night and a Saturday night.
Really?
Yeah.
Bobby
He's
has.
a beast.
He's funnier now than I think he's ever been.
Well, he's been this funny for a long time. What people don't understand is that he actually does a lot of introspective stuff on stage. It's real about very honest things about his family and his outlook and his fatherhood and being a husband. It's very deep, because he's done a lot of work on himself in therapy.
He's done.
Yeah.
We had a fight. I've always had fights with Bobby.
Really?
As long as I've known him, there's whatever my personality is very, very frustrating for some people.
Really?
And I think Bobby.
But you're not like an insulting guy.
No, you know what it is? This is me projecting. I'm putting out theories. I think I have Bobby on the podcast coming up, so I'll talk to him about it.
Okay.
But I don't. It was really frustrating for Leanne when she met me, because I don't ever worry about money. I don't think about money. I go, it'll show up. It'll show up.
Right.
I think it's whatever that you would claim a white privileged kid has in life.
Yeah.
I got lots of it, and so if the way my outlook on life is just let's go have a drink. I don't give a fuck. I'm taking an Uber. I'm going into the city. Let's go party. I don't know. Let's go camping. Just fuck it. Let's do it. Carpe diem. And I think Bobby is someone who's struggled for everywhere he's gotten in his life.
Yes.
And I think it can be frustrating when he sees when stuff like Robin's just like, fuck it, who cares? Let's just all chip in. And Bobby's like, it doesn't work that way. Like, we got to talk about that before you decide we're all going to get something. Bert.
Right,
like,
right.
And so I think that has been, I think that's where we've had our hiccups. But we had a falling out on a podcast. I think it was on a podcast.
Oh.
It was a bit, but not bad. But just
right, yeah.
bumping heads.
Yeah.
And he called me like a week later, and he's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've done so much fucking work about this shit. And
yeah.
it just keeps creeping back up. I
Right,
love you.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
so sorry that we ended that way.
Oh, that's so good.
And I was like, Bobby, I love you.
That's him. Yeah. Yeah. He's been a really good friend to me since we waited tables together in Boston when we were 24 or something like that.
So what was the group back then? It was you, Burr, Dane, Bobby, Patrice?
Bill, I think, had moved to New York before Bobby did. And then, so I spent a lot of time with Bobby and this guy, Al Del Benny. And then Dane would come back a lot to Boston. So I would spend time with him. And then Dane was full-time in LA. Bobby moved to New York, and I would see him pretty frequently because I would sometimes stay at this apartment that he shared with Bill Burr and another guy who was not a comic at the time it was very far uptown, but now it's not considered very far uptown. It was probably only 100th Street or something like that.
Yeah.
But back then it was considered, that's really uptown, and so it was a very affordable apartment that he shared with Bill Burr, who was also spending a lot of time in LA, I bet you, at that point. So that was 98, I think. 98. Wow. And I was still living in Boston and working there and going to New York every once in a while, but I never wanted to give up the stage time that I could get in Boston because I didn't get the same amount of stage time in New York. And also I could make a little bit of money. And then we got those deals and moved out here. Yeah. In 99. 99. Yeah. Because I did the Montreal New Faces.
Is that where you got your deal?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then what happens like do you remember? Of course you do. Remember Orny Adams?
Let me think. Who could forget Orny Adams? I knew him when he was a Boston comedian. He was such a ball breaker. I remember wanting to he would say such mean things to me, I remember when I first started. Just had no filter. I remember watching him in Seinfeld when he did Seinfeld's movie, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I got Montreal," and then he just immediately, felt like the depression just hit him, and he just fucking shut down. But when you get a deal and I was thinking of him, but when you get a deal at Montreal and with depression, like when good shit happens, do you wait for the hammer to fall? You're like, no, I had a really good run as far as I had 3 straight years where I got big money deals. Yeah. And then the only thing was that my prime directive was get more stage time. And so the deals were great, and I worked hard on the pilots, but in the back of my head, I was like, I want to get this on the air so I can get some fans and do the road. Yeah. And so I was missing out on that. Yeah. We had no idea, and we were in the business. We had no idea how to get work.
Isn't that crazy? It is.
I sent out hundreds of tapes of appearances with appearances on Leno and Letterman, 2 appearances on Leno and an appearance on Letterman that I had done in 1 year. And I put them all on a tape, and I found out the addresses, and I sent them all, and I followed up. I really hustled. And I remember that nobody even got back to me. And one college, Tulane, actually gave me a gig off that tape. But I really,
do you remember,
I really hustled, man.
You called me one time. You said, "Oh, I made a big mistake today, Bert." And I said, "What?" And you said, "After too many cups of coffee, I decided to call Comedy Central." And I go, "What?" You go, "I just called up Comedy Central and said, how come you guys haven't given me a special yet?"
Yeah. Well, I remember one night I was supposed to do a tape to get a Comedy Central Presents, which were really huge at the time. If you could get a Comedy Central
Game changer.
Presents,
you might your life.
You might get some fans. I
Yeah.
saw it happen for Hedberg and Dane Cook.
It happened so big for Dane.
Yes, off a half hour. And so I knew that was the thing. So I wanted to make a tape, and I had a spot. Barry set it up for me at the Laugh Factory to make a 20-minute set at the Laugh Factory. And Bob Saget went on and did this. He just popped in and played his guitar and did these dirty songs, and I got bumped, and I was so heartbroken. I never got to make the tape to send to Comedy Central because I didn't even get on that night.
Do you know what Ari told me the other night?
I never got a Comedy Central Presents.
I never got it. Do you know what Ari told me? Which would have destroyed me had I known it. He said we were talking about something, and I mentioned Kyle Cease. You remember Kyle Cease?
Kyle Cease.
And Ari
He was
goes,
relentless.
Ari goes, it's so crazy because there was a period of time where you weren't getting stuff because Kyle Cease was. I said, what? And he goes, well, you guys were identical looking. No one could tell you apart. And I said, you realize that would have fucking destroyed me had you told me that 20 years ago. That one, that you're saying I look like Kyle Cease, but number two, that I'm not getting things because Kyle's getting. I was like, oh.
Whatever happened to that dude?
He's a motivational speaker.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a lot of people are motivational speakers now. I remember there was like a big move for comics who couldn't really cut it or didn't like the idea of writing a new hour just overwhelmed them, and they just became motivational speakers.
That makes me sad for some reason. Should it?
I do. I think, yeah, because I think motivational speaking is kind of snake oil a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
snake oil salesman.
But he's good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
He had some good jokes.
He certainly did, and he was a likable guy.
Tom Clark swears Kyle Cease stole his closer.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's a great closer. It was a great closer. He at the end of the show would go, I feel like we had a good time. I feel like there's no joke. I'm fucking it up, but I feel like there's no joke that's really gonna be better than anything that we did tonight. So instead, I'm just gonna recap it in a slow-mo montage of the night. And then they started playing like some slow-mo music, montage music.
Yeah.
And then he just go through and all the things he did in his act, he just redo.
That's
and
a
it
great closer.
murdered. I saw Kyle Cease do it, and I was like, wow, that's an amazing fucking closer. And then Tom Clark's like, I did South Africa with Tom Clark. He goes, that's my fucking closer. He stole it from me. And I was like, really?
Wow.
Yeah, I always had a joke I thought Kyle took from me too.
That's a tough one to fight because I've never heard of anybody else doing something like that, right?
Doing that.
Yeah.
My joke was I thought Kyle took a joke from me, but then it was a very pivotal moment in my writing because I was so this is not going to come out right, but I would. You know, Tiger Woods looked at Jack Nicklaus's career and said, if I can do this, 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 and this by these certain ages at these landmark moments in my life, then I was doing that with friends of mine, like guys like Dane and Nick Swardson and Jay, like going like, if I can get, and nothing was happening for me. And so here I am like 30 years old, 32 years old. And I hadn't.
Which you realize now is a baby.
Yeah. Well, God, I look now. I thought I was aged out of the business.
Yeah.
I thought I was getting aged out of the business.
Yeah.
And
if it was gonna happen, it would have happened by now.
Yeah. I remember Andy Cohen, our agent, telling us.
Oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah. We used to go out to his beach house in Malibu.
Yeah.
I remember him telling me I lost a bunch of weight, and he goes, "So that's it for you with comedy, huh?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "What the fuck are you gonna talk about now? Spin classes and losing weight?"
Oh my
word! And I was like, "No, I'm still funny." And he was like, well, "Good luck." But I would write jokes that I felt Dane or Nick, or I use Dane and Nick because I'm friends with them, so I don't mind. Like if there was someone I didn't like, I wouldn't bring them up right now.
Yeah.
But like I would write jokes that I thought would appeal to like that was in the same that their fans would like also. So
I see. Yeah.
Makes sense. So like I wasn't doing my own voice.
Right.
I was doing what I thought was working at the time.
Right.
I remember having a meltdown one night on our stairs to Leanne and going, you know, like I had to go out to the clubs, and she goes, don't go out to the club. Stay with us. Stay with us. George is sick. And I go, no. I go, Lan, you don't understand. No one wants to hear about fucking kids that are sick and shit like that. Like, I remember saying, I got to do fun boy comedy. In order to be the fun guy, I got to go out and have a good time tonight. And I was like, and I remember just being so disconnected with how I should write. Ian Bagg was the one that told me. I told one story on stage that was so different than anything else I was doing about Ida sticking her finger in the ass and put it in the dog's mouth. And Ian Bagg pulled me aside and he goes, that's what you need to be writing about.
Wow.
I was like, what? I go, Ian, no one wants to hear fucking, because when we were kids, if you went into the Boston Comedy Club and you're like, so my daughter had the flu tonight, everyone would be like, fucking next.
Yeah.
Talk about a taxi or a dead hooker.
Oh my gosh. Or the subway map.
Yeah. It seems like a lifetime. But the joke I had that Kyle sees that I always felt like, because I told it and I wrote it, and then he told the exact same joke like a week later, and I was like, I think he stole it from me. And then I was like, oh, I got to stop writing jokes that people also can write.
Right.
Like, because I can't blame him. It was, I wish I could do magic. So that way, when the cop pulled me over, he's like, do you have any marijuana in this car? I go, you'll find no marijuana in this car. As a matter of fact, the marijuana is behind your ear. And I'd be like, wait, how did you do that?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
It's really funny. But yeah, it's true. You have to choose obscure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the next special?
The next special.
What are we gonna do? Like, how do you outdo this special?
Well, I don't know that I can outdo it, but I know that for the first time that a special is airing, I have an hour to tour with that's not on the special.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for that.
How cool though. How cool
that
to be
was
known.
always a stressful idea.
How cool though is it to be known as someone who struggled with depression, and to know that people will have found you through that special that deal with the same thing, and then come out to see you in hopes of lightening their
Yeah. That's been the best feedback that I've gotten, is that people will send messages saying I hadn't left the house in days. I went to see your show and I felt better and I enjoyed myself, and because near the end I sort of detail some of the weird things I did to recover, and because it's a litany of things along with the medicine, but they responded to it, and they aren't huge things. They aren't huge things. A lot of them are just getting out of the house and spending an hour with somebody. That was really, really helpful, because it was distracting me from my ruminations of misery for an hour, and that was enough.
Is getting out.
Yeah, just making a plan.
What comics do you like? Tell me comics you get coffee
I'll tell you
with.
What happened, Bert. I moved back to my mom's house. I moved out of New York.
Really?
And so
Well, you had that barn for a second, didn't you?
Well, I had a barn. Yeah, I sold that in 2013, I think. I owned a farm. Yes. But
you were one of the most interesting people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was in love. She wanted a farm. I bought her a farm. We ran out of money to renovate. She left.
You kept the farm.
And I kept the farm. Yeah. It goes to show you that depression is a chemical thing, because I've never been lower than losing my fiance while living on a farm in the middle of nowhere. It was like 8 acres. And so my closest neighbor, first of all, was a part-time of the year person. So I became friends with the woman who groomed my dogs. And we would go to yoga together, but also we used to go to AA together. I'm not sober.
You just wanted just the company.
AA and depression have a lot of overlap.
For real?
A lot of the ideas and expressions from AA really help with depression. Like compare and despair is an AA term, but it's you compare yourself, like you were talking about earlier, to the other comedians.
Bum me out
you
so bad.
will lose your mind.
I remember Dane had a car phone. I was so blown away. He had a car phone, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yes. So
I've always been someone. I'm not competitive in careers, but I always do I've always been compared myself to people. Even when I was a kid, I would compare myself to other kids that played baseball.
Yeah, I
I'd
was
be
that
like-
way with basketball.
I was like,
I needed to be the best basketball player to feel equal to even the worst basketball player.
I remember seeing kids strike out and they just laugh and walk it off.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck goes on?
Or
in
have a
your head?
lousy game and talk on the bus home. Where do you get off speaking? You should be on top of a bridge somewhere. That's where I'd be if I missed that many free throws.
Oh, I dated a girl in college and we played tennis together, and I was a fairly competitive tennis player.
Oh, no.
And she was okay.
Yeah.
And I beat her so badly she started crying. And I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "You're not letting me win." And I go, "Yeah, that you don't let people win.
No.
You either win or you lose.
Yeah.
And it's based on your skill. And I'm better than you, so I'm winning."
Yeah.
She goes, "Well, no, this isn't fun." And I go, "Well, get better and it'll be more fun for you." I can understand. It wasn't fun for me when I sucked. That's why I got better.
Right.
Like I was
yeah.
like, wait, I couldn't wrap my head around. Dude, I remember in her fucking, I remember cheating at a board game
She
with her family.
cried.
She cried. I remember
That's so, I
cheating,
feel so bad for her.
playing a board game with her and her brother. Her brother was younger. And I was cheating. I was just cheating, like, and stealing tiles or whatever. And I won. And then I said, "Hey, just so you guys know, I cheated." And they go, "What?" And I go, I mean, I couldn't, this is the broken part of my brain. I go, "Yeah, I cheated. I just want you guys to know that I beat you by cheating." And they go, "Well, you didn't beat me." I go, "No, I beat you
Right.
because I cheated." I go, "Part of the gameplay is cheating also." And they're like, "No, why would you cheat?" And I go, "Because I wanted to win." And they were like, "Wait, what do you mean you wanted to win?" I said, "Well, I didn't want to lose. And I knew you guys weren't paying attention to the tiles, so I was taking the tiles. And then I beat you that way. So I outwitted you
Wow.
by cheating." I couldn't understand their side of it so much. Like I was like, "No, but I still won." Like and then I kept going, "But I only told you because so that you would know that that's how I beat." Like
Wow.
I told you my brain was so fucked up.
That is funny, man.
But I had to stop all of that because I had to stop all of that. And then, Gary, I get on Travel Channel, and there was like, I would compare myself to other hosts on Travel Channel, and I would be like I would be like, I'm not getting the opportunities they're getting to be myself. They're making me be this one version of a guy. I want to be more like Bourdain or Adam. I want to be let out of this box a little bit. But I was like cool with it because I was like, you know what? I got a nice little career.
Yeah.
And then when I got fired from that I had not compared myself to anyone in so fucking long. I mean, so long. Because I was like, cool, I'm running a different race.
Right.
And then I came back to the store. I've talked about this, I'm sure, a number of times, but I came back and I wasn't passed at the store.
Oh.
And that was a big
It's huge.
fucking deal for me.
Yeah, of course.
And then I got passed at the store. I did my first set at the store and I felt top of the world, shirts off, come out of the OR, and I'm fat as fuck. I'm wearing dad jeans with dad shoes, and I look, and Chris D'Elia is in a car. We had been car shopping at the time.
Uh-huh.
He was in the car that they have in the showroom. He had the most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
Yeah.
His clothes looked like they were from Back to the Future. Like they're
Right,
all
yeah.
brand new, torn, but ironically torn. And he's on a cell phone, and the girl's trying to talk to him, and he's not even paying attention to her. He's just, and I went, and for the first time I went, do not get back into this comparison shit. This will eat you fucking alive.
Bert.
And I was like, you
We
know what?
can all be Chris D'Elia.
I know. Just for one night. Do you know, someone told me that, do you remember who this was? He said he had sex with this girl in Houston. And then a few times, right? It was horrible. And he goes, and then I came back and Chris D'Elia had sex with her. And she'd let me know that, just so you know, I don't know who you, and he goes, "Oh, I'm cool."
Yeah.
They had sex again. And he goes, "She was amazing at bed." He said Chris D'Elia turned her into a better sexual partner.
Good for him.
I was like, fuck. Who? Jim Florentine.
Oh, wow.
It was Jim Florentine. And then I was like, I want Chris to fuck my wife.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
I'm surprised that there would be, in all due respect to Jim Florentine, he's not an incredibly sexy man.
I'm
That
surprised.
there would be overlap between Chris D'Elia's stable and
Yeah.
Jim Florentine.
I'd be curious. Wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be a fun game show if you brought comedians on who had sex with the same girl, and they're like, you guys don't know why you're here, do you? And they're like,
oh man,
do we have the same joke? Close.
yeah.
Comparison. What is it? What is it? The AA term?
Compare and despair.
Yeah.
It's a much better rhyme than sober October.
Yeah. I have pulled that compare and despair out of my life. Out of my life.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. The only thing I do sometimes is when I don't have something, I think of another comedian that I love and adore, and I say, well, you know what? There's no justice because this person is funnier than me, and they also don't have it.
I do that.
To me, Eddie Pepitone and Todd Glass should be the two most famous comedians in America. They make me laugh so hard. At a time when it's really hard to make a comedian laugh. We've seen it all.
Todd Glass is a special human being.
Yes.
Can I read this to you? Because it's my favorite thing from Todd Glass ever.
Oh, yeah, of course.
This is my favorite. By the way, first thing that came up is a picture of D'Elia on my fucking phone. He's a kid. That guy makes me giggle so fucking hard. This is the last text I got from Todd Glass, okay? Bert, you know what would be fun? If we could just do a whole show on just to have doctors and foods and presents, and we'll present them to people who can't cook and give them some like great tips and stuff, right? That's at 122. 425. Because you didn't get right back to me, I hope the next time you're in New York, there's another 9/11.
Oh my God.
Then immediately after, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That was for my sister. I read that. He makes me laugh so fucking hard. He is such a joy. I think all the time I think about when you went over to his house and he said, my house isn't much, but if we get high and pretend it's an airplane,
yes,
we'll really be impressed with it.
Every room we went into, we couldn't get over it because like we went into the kitchen, we said, you're not going to believe what this airplane has. It has a sink and a Sub-Zero refrigerator in the airplane. This is the best airplane I've ever been in my life.
I think about that so much.
There's another bedroom in this airplane, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you meet him on Last Comic Standing?
No, I met him when I did a half hour for Showtime.
He was the host. He was
the warm up. And so we sat together afterwards, and I loved his act.
Yeah.
And I loved talking to him. And then we were sitting there talking, and my mother, who is still alive, she's a very charming woman from Massachusetts. She grew up in Boston. She's 86 now. At the time, she was probably 63 or something like that. And she was sitting there talking to Patrice O'Neill. She really connected with him. I don't know why, but he was very versatile. He could talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And they were having a great conversation and laughing. And Todd Glass turned to me and he said, Gary, he said, Gulman, is that your mother? And I said, yes, kind of proud because she was so cute and she was handling herself so well at this party. And he said, you tell her to pipe down. Oh, it made me so happy.
He's what comics do you hang out with in New York?
I hang out with Ted Alexandro.
He's a great guy. I don't
Great
on the
guy.
podcast.
Ryan Hamilton.
I know Ryan Hamilton.
And Tom Ryan, who you may have known when
I know
he
Tom
lived
Ryan.
out here. Yeah, he's actually from Florida. No, he's not married.
Wait, no. Oh,
he opened for Regan a lot.
Yep, I know Tom Ryan. Yeah,
great guy. And then who else for comedians do I hang around with? Alex Edelman, who's a young comedian. Oh, you love him. He's very funny. And I've known him since he was 14. He was a fan who came to my show.
Are you serious?
And yeah. He's a wonderkind. He's like a prodigy of comedy. And then I'm trying to think, who am I leaving out? I know I'm leaving somebody out of who I hang out with in New York. Sean Donnelly, I really like. Joe List, I really like.
He's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
He's a good hang.
And a really good friend. Yeah.
Yeah, he's sober.
Yes. I was with him one night in Philadelphia. It was December 28th, I think.
He just told me this the other day. Keep going.
Yeah. And he was talking about his drinking, and not as a goof, but I made it seem like a goof, I think.
Yeah.
I started asking him certain questions that I knew from my AA.
From all the AA you've been going through.
Yes. And he answered them yes. And I said, you might be. And he never drank again after that night.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It was New Year's Eve. He could have had an excuse, one for the road. And he quit that night. I mean, that is willpower. And he hasn't drank since.
That is so. I was toying with the idea of after Sober October, seeing how long I can go before I drink again.
I mean, the thing is that if you're addicted, then Sober October will get it out of your system.
Yeah. I mean,
But I don't know that you're addicted.
I don't have a physical addiction.
Yeah.
And I don't.
It's just like when I quit smoking, the thing is that I had to do things that I always needed a cigarette to do. I had to do them once without a cigarette. I had a bomb once. I had to kill once. I had to.
Oh, I thought you said I hit a bum once. I went,
No.
You used to
I
hit
had
bums.
to bomb.
You used to hit bums and then have a cigarette.
No. Yeah, whenever I would hit a bum, why would I all of a sudden start referring to them as bums at this point?
Do you remember? I remember saying something about, I'm trying to make a joke about a homeless guy, and you're like, Bert, I just don't think it's very funny to make fun of them. And they're just mentally ill and they're just struggling. Like, why would you? And I go, yeah, but just we make jokes about homeless people, right, Gary? And you're like, yeah, but you don't have to.
I said that. Oh, that sounds really obnoxious of me.
We were at the thing, and I said something about homeless guy, and you went, yeah, but does it have to be a homeless guy? And I said, I don't know. It's just like I was just doing it as like a placeholder of like,
yeah,
like that's something we do.
I mean that's the other thing in New York. You do those showcase shows. There's 4 other guys who are making fun of somebody doing something crazy and they're homeless.
Yeah.
So you sound like the other guys on the show. That's You don't want to. Or you try not to do that.
You had to bomb.
It might not matter.
I
had to bomb and not have a cigarette afterwards to calm me. And I did it once.
I would love to start smoking again.
Oh my gosh, it was fun, but I realize now that I was addicted.
Really?
And that was a problem. Yeah.
How old were you? You didn't smoke when I knew you.
I smoked in private. I was embarrassed by it, and then all of a sudden I was smoking all the time. Yeah. Yeah, because I lived with the smoker, that woman I bought the farm for.
She was a smoker?
Yeah.
And so then you just started smoking?
Yeah, smoking all the time. Yeah.
I look at habits sometimes, like, and I go, it might be fun to get into a habit, like chewing tobacco or
chewing was
cutting
rampant when I was cutting. when I was playing football, guys, oh my God, they were so addicted to dip.
Everyone I grew up with was addicted. I have friends who still chew tobacco.
Have fits.
Oh, I miss it so much.
Yeah.
I would have loved one today.
Man, but Bert, the dip is so bad for your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I start looking at things like I think I'm old enough where now I'm just racing the clock.
No.
It's like Bobby's got a joke. He goes,
I got 30 summers left. That's one of my favorite jokes. I mean, that is a deep joke, man.
I said, Bobby, 30?
Oh, that's hilarious. That is funny, man.
So who do you?
Oh, that's so cruel.
We were on a cruise ship, and I just walked up after him. I went, Bobby, 30?
Oh,
and everyone laughed.
Did he laugh? Oh my
and he was like,
yeah.
He's I don't know. I love Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, he's another person I hang around with in New
do
York.
do you see him much?
I see him pretty frequently at the cellar, and he's in my special in a documentary interview we did together at the cellar. So that's pretty good. I think the comedians are really gonna like this.
I think so. I just saw the trailer and it was just so honest.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, I'm fucking arty. And they're one of the things that I loved about what you do, but what you didn't do was you would say things in private that I found so funny. Like it was a testament to how funny you were. And I was like, you got to tell that on stage. You're like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Like I remember this so vividly. I laughed so hard. We were talking about blowing loads, and you're like, I remember the first time I ejaculated. I said, yeah. I said, what do you mean? I said, what happened? You go, I did a very unwise thing. I said, what? You said, I consulted my mother.
Yes.
And I could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
I consulted my mother.
Yeah.
But you weren't doing a bit. You were just talking.
Right. Yeah. So stupid. So embarrassing. And then my father didn't live with us. You know, they were divorced, and he came over and he calmed me down because I had a panic attack. You know, I didn't know what was going on, and I was ashamed and concerned that something was wrong. Because there was a time when you would do it and nothing would come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I had a bit I stopped doing it because I feel like right now I need someone to go through and go, hey man, we can skinny your act up. I got like an hour 15 that is, I feel like everything's lengthy. I feel like there's only 4 bits that I do the entire special or this new special. And so one of the things I did was I told a story on Conan about period parties. My daughter had a period party.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And then the end of the joke was I flipped it and said, what if we had that for guys? And I was doing a bit about when the first time that happened to me. And like not everyone's like skeet, skeet, skeet. A lot of guys are like, what the fuck did I do? I broke it.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I'm dying. But I took it out because I was just fucking.
The thing I always found the reason I shied away from that was that I could have gone on stage and talked about that, but then there were guys on stage in New York especially who were admitting to doing things much more private, and I can't believe you would share that with anybody.
Yeah, Norton.
Like, you become, I'm going to compete with that.
Yeah, but I think and why I'm excited about this special is your perspective has always been so uniquely yours.
I hope so.
You're an anomaly. Like you're fucking 6'7", gorgeous, fucking smart, and it's like, and I think that's why, like, you know, when you see Chris Gethard,
wasn't that terrific?
It was fucking amazing.
Oh my gosh,
but
he's a guy I hang around with. I love that guy.
He's great.
He's so nice and humble.
I tweeted out something about positive about him, and I think he. Sometimes when someone's maybe in an ulterior more scene, and I do something nice, they're always like, "Oh, what's the catch here?" Right. But he just, I think he just replied, and he was like, "Hey, thank you." Yeah. Like I got drunk and I got fucking on a spin out from of obsessing about Lauren Lapkus. You know who she is?
Well, I think that I follow her on Twitter, but I don't know that I know her.
She's in Between Two Ferns with Zach.
Oh, okay.
And she is awesome. Yeah. I mean, she is such a great actress. Yeah. Like so funny, so small, like meaning like it's just it really was so good. Yeah. And then I got drunk and I couldn't stop talking about her we were on the bus. And then I guess I don't know what I tweeted, but I woke up the next morning to a tweet from her like, thanks, Bert. And like, I was like, oh, of course.
Yeah. No, you've always had great taste in comedy. I remember you introduced me to the British Office.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were obsessed
with that. We were in Austin,
yeah.
Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pete Pirelli.
Houston.
What did I say? Yeah.
Houston, yeah.
Houston Laugh Stop. What did I just say? Austin?
You said Austin.
Okay, Jesus Christ.
But you meant Houston.
I think I'm getting fucking...
No. It's a comedy.
I just found out my blood pressure medicine causes cancer.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I don't need that. That's what started my morning.
Right.
Is losartan being recalled. And I'm like, and Rogan has been telling me to get off my blood pressure medicine. And I'm like, it's been where I've just been able to go, you don't know what you're talking about. And apparently he knows exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's sharp. What are the other options that you have?
Oh, strokes. I can have a stroke. I look, they say it has trace contaminants of a cancer causing whatchamacallit. And I said to my wife, like, what do I do? And she goes, well, you can call your cardiologist and see if there's something else he can put you on.
Right.
She's like, or you could also realize you drink a bottle of wine a night and that has cancer carcinogens in it. Right. And so not really worry about it.
Are there other things that you're doing that contribute to your high blood pressure, or is it just a genetic thing?
I need to lose weight. I have a fatty liver right now, or a semi-fatty. Well, my enzymes were high. And so the doctor was like, hey, man, you got to lose. Like, I was 258 pounds at my highest. Right now, I'm 237.
Okay.
So, and that was a month ago. So a month ago, I've lost, like 20 pounds. That's 21 pounds.
That's great.
Yeah, but Gary, I don't lose weight healthy.
You starve yourself?
I do I'm pretty much an eating disorder guy.
Yeah.
I think that goes in with my OCD and anxiety.
Right. Yeah.
And so like last night I did not eat, and but I cooked for everyone at our friend's house, and I woke up. This is a little bit of what was causing me anxiety. I didn't remember how we got home.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and it's just 'cause I didn't eat all day. I was trying to do 36 hours fasting to see if I could do it.
That's you though. You told me how you ran a marathon having not trained at all.
Yeah. It's my brain is just broken. I just wish I had some sensible part of my brain that would be like, hey man, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
It's compulsion.
Yeah. You know what it was? I didn't eat at the airport the day before. And I didn't eat on the flight. And the flight was the hardest part.
Oh, it's brutal.
And when I got home,
there's nothing else to do.
I got home, I had a drink, and I went to bed. And I went, I'm gonna bang this out. I'm gonna get 36 hours. And then I got to like 36 hours, and I was like, you know what? If 36 is good, and so I didn't eat dinner last night, and then I woke up this morning fucking starving
and confused,
and I was like shaky. I was like, because I drank wine, and I'm like.
Oh, Bert.
Would you ever think about putting your therapy on a podcast?
No. No, but we do have a session in the documentary part of the special with Sade and my psychiatrist. Sade used to come with me to all my appointments.
Really?
And ask questions because I was out of it a lot of the times and I would forget things and also she would do a lot of research and she would ask him about these things and I have a hard time asking questions of people in authority, and she was very assertive that way, and very knowledgeable about the different treatments and options. So we do a session in the and it's a little bit of exposition about the nature of depression and anxiety and also the treatment. And that was pretty cool. When I first came up with the idea of doing a hybrid documentary and special, that was the one scene that I said we should do an interview with my doctor because he's very knowledgeable and respected, but two, he's very comfortable on camera and he's very charming. Really? Yeah.
So then what did Judd Apatow have to do with it? He produced it?
He produced it. He gave notes all along the way and he was sort of a consultant and also right away you get seen by HBO if he's involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, but he was very helpful in designing the narrative and how we tell the story. Like one of the notes he says we really need a gut punch. And the gut punch comes in that scene with the psychiatrist.
Really?
Yeah. It's
I'm gonna force them moving. To send it to me because I want to see it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be on HBO GO also.
Yeah.
So that's
that night.
The beauty.
Yes. That's what's great. HBO GO and HBO Now, and then I think they have a thing called HBO Max that they're debuting in April or
really.
I'm not sure when. But
I just saw all the
like
streaming wars come out.
Yeah,
like they were just talking about all the platforms, and then we're like, oh wow, it's gonna be back to the scratch.
Right, we're never gonna have to leave the house.
Yeah,
there'll always be something to watch.
Yeah. How long are you out here for?
I'm here till Saturday morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then back to New York?
And then back to New York for some like I'm doing the Today Show. Have you ever done the Today Show?
Yes, I have. Are you doing I've only done the later today.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing. And then Seth Meyers.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
What else?
He's really cool.
You doing Conan out here?
I'm doing Conan tomorrow, yeah.
That's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
That show I had the period party I told on the show.
Yeah.
And it went viral.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that it kind of is good and bad. Is, I'm glad that people saw it and like little girls saw it and they could deal with their periods better. I'm happy about that. But then I'm fucking kind of going, did I lose the bit? Because like 30 million people saw it. So you're like,
yeah, but that's the thing with jokes. You tell yourself, did I lose the bit? And you're telling yourself you can't write another bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a good, I was going to close on it.
I know, but you're such a prolific guy.
Well, maybe I'll bail on period party because I already did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now I go, my daughter's got the period and everyone goes, period party. I go, oh, motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe I'll lose period party.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. This has been good for me, Gary. So when's it premiere?
October 5th.
October
10
5th.
p.m. to 11:15.
10 p.m. to 11. Ooh, an hour 15.
Yeah. Yeah. About 13 minutes of documentary interspersed with 62 minutes of stand-up.
This is going to be great.
Thanks,
I just did a podcast with Taylor Tomlinson who talks about depression, and she didn't expect to talk about it.
Uh-huh.
And then we just got into it, and Leanne said my emails were lighting up, but I suspect there were a lot of men who, like myself and my buddy Croy, have just been like, toughen up,
Right.
just get out of bed.
Yeah.
And so I'm really proud of you
Oh, thanks,
to do
man.
a special this
I really
brave and like
appreciate
talk
that.
about stuff like that. And what's great is you're one of the best comics in the business.
Thanks,
So it's
man.
gonna be fucking stellar material.
Thank you.
I can't fucking wait.
But I hope I've told you this over the years, but I really appreciate the encouragement and the praise that you give me, because I always think that the guys who are doing more adult content think I'm a sissy or something by doing jokes about state abbreviations. So it's really
Dude,
nice.
that's
It's really nice to hear when you guys appreciate
state
me.
abbreviations is one of the most viral bits.
Yeah.
That's like everyone was like, this is how you do comedy. Didn't Patton do?
Yeah,
you know?
Patton sent something really nice.
Patton's
yeah.
like, this is my
Yeah.
favorite bit I've ever
But
seen.
I remember being in a really bad place emotionally, and I read that from Patton, and I thought, okay, you're not as bad as your brain is telling you are, because this guy who you admire likes you. So that was really
such
helpful.
a great bit.
Thanks, man.
I'm going to show
Thank
it to
you.
the girls tonight.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're like, what they find funny is like YouTube stars.
Yeah,
so
of course. Yeah.
YouTube stars and Brian Regan.
Oh,
They love Brian Regan.
I think he's our greatest,
Oh yeah, he's the
Yeah.
sweetest guy
and so humble.
and so smart. When we
Yeah.
wanted to buy a new house, we were wanting to buy a new house.
Oh, that was such great advice. Yeah.
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 I just go,
Yeah.
God damn it, man.
Yeah.
I wish I had more of like what Starfuckers had, where I could just text those guys.
Oh,
like
I know.
text Brian Regan and be like, hey
Yeah.
man, how you doing? I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at that.
Right. But you could DM him.
I
Okay.
feel weird.
No, he would love that. I mean, I sometimes fantasize about what I eventually will write to him about how much he meant to me. Like someday he'll say something complimentary. He has, like, maybe
Yeah.
he'll say, "Hey, nice special. I really liked it," and then I'll let loose with, "You have no idea how I modeled my approach to stand." Just really lay it on thick.
Like, take it just an inch too far. Like say I love you
Yes.
during a one night stand.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Do you know my friend Chris Fleming?
No, I don't think
Okay,
so.
you may have seen he does this thing about the company is coming and he has to clean up, but he does this character called Gail, who's actually a woman, but she's a really intense woman. Anyhow, he does this act out of the time when he was a kid, when his father, by mistake, told his soccer coach, ended the conversation by saying, "I love you," by mistake. And it's one of the funniest things. He does it as a dance and a musical.
Is it online?
Yeah, it's online. His
Oh, I
name is
gotta
Chris
fucking-
Fleming. You have to find it.
Chris
It's hilarious.
Fleming?
Yeah.
Will you write that down, Halston? Chris Fleming?
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
Well, dude, congratulations on the special.
Thanks.
You know
for
I
having
love
me
you.
on. Thanks.
I'm hoping George is in there so you should.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Where's Leanne?
She should be in there too.
Okay, all right. It was
Everyone's being camped out around the house because of the new puppy.
Oh yes.
So like everyone's friends are coming over.
Oh, that's
and,
so great.
Yeah,
Dogs are the best. All right, I love you. Thanks
love
for
you
having
too,
me
brother.
on. Say
I
hi
do.
to Annie.
I will. I'll see her
Yeah.
at Hot Spin tomorrow.
Okay, awesome.